we have set up a committee to review what actually happened in Rivers from the point of view of INEC. It's chaired by a national commissioner, Professor Ibiano. They have up to the end of this month to submit their report. Whatever the issues are, the recommendations of the committee will guide us in taking action. But we want to assure Nigerians that whatever we need to correct, learning from the experience of what happened in Rivers, will correct, so that next elections will continue to be better, just like we had a good election in Ondo.
Well, there you heard the INEC chairman. So that subsequent election, a lot of things, a lot of people said are wrong in the Rivers rerun election. Let's get deeper into this matter. Let's get some perspectives into this issue. A former national chairman of the Young Democratic Party, YDP, and the Director General, Nigeria Force Project, Mr. Etok, joins us from our Abuja studio. Many thanks for coming on the program. Is this situation in Rivers State, in the rerun election, an isolated case, and the kind of desperation and brutality of politicians that we saw, or it's just a general case that exposes the nature of Nigerian politics and politicians?
Thanks, Shehu, for having me. It's a general case that exposes the nature of politicians that we have and the type of politics that we play, and it will continue to be so until the narrative is changed. A situation where politics is not about service, absolutely not about service, and we all know that as Nigerians. We know that. We know that. I want to emphasize that. For so long as politics is about how much you can get, where a man wakes up overnight and becomes a mega success, becomes an absolutely rich man, as against a man like Joe Biden, who served as a senator for 35 years, and when his son was ill, he had to sell his house, and he took the intervention of the president to stop that being the case. Because, and at the end of the day, as the tenure ends, he's going to join the train and go back home. That's a man who has served 35 years in the Senate and 8 years as a vice president. That is politics. That is service. That is what will make people not to kill to get into that office. For as long as that narrative is not changed, what happened in Rivers State is just a microcosm of what happens on the national scale.
Some people will say Rivers State is somewhat a very, very interesting and peculiar case in Nigeria's politics. And when we wonder, in 2015, we saw that it became the capital of political brutality, where we saw on a large scale how politicians really got fighting and how dirty politicians could fight when it comes to politicking. And we saw two major political parties slug it out really hard in that election. And the magnitude of what we saw there, when we wonder, in the next election in Rivers State, and whatever is the outcome of the police investigation, Rivers State investigation, and INEC investigation, what lesson can Nigerians learn from all of this scenario played out in Rivers State?
I think we all know, and I want to say this because until we stop playing the ostrich, we will not be able to make progress as a nation. We all know the situations. Rivers State was not about two parties. It was not about APC and PDP, no. It was about two individuals. It was about Wike, the governor on the seat, and the past governor, Mr. Amaechi. It was about the two of them. It was about egos. It was about proving points. And we as Nigerians became so gullible. We became so unthinking to become tools in the hands of these people. And I ask myself a very simple question. Where were the children of these gladiators when all this mayhem was going on? I think the time has come. I don't want to talk about parties. I want to address Nigerians as individuals. We have some of the most intellectual people in this country. We have some of the most cerebral people in this country. We have some of the most enlightened people in this country. But when it comes to politics, it's as if they just turn our brain upside down, and you see an otherwise respected and respectable young person acting as if the devil just took over his soul. Why must we die for other people?
Mr. Etok, so, I mean, I do know Rivers State is not the only state where you have an incumbent governor having a stake in the election of who become the next governor. And it's not the only state that has a similar scenario in the power tussle of a state in a governorship election. But a lot of people will say that the scenario which played out in Rivers State is peculiar. What is peculiar about Rivers State that makes the situation, for example, a beheading of a police officer? That's gory, and even thinking of killing a police officer, not to talk of beheading a police officer. That looks like the most extreme thing that could ever happen in any politics of any nation, isn't it?
I think that it's condemnable no matter where you look at it, no matter how you look at it. But you see, the thing about Rivers State had to do with two major gladiators and what you may call the X factor. You would realize that there was this war of APC must win one of the Niger Delta states, or one of the South states, because when you talk of Niger Delta, right now Niger Delta is going up to Ondo State, and with the oil in the north, I think a part of the north might just become Niger Delta by definition of Niger Delta. But coming to the fact on ground, there was this issue that the APC wanted to have one of the South states at any cost. And by the way, they already have Edo State, which is one of the South states. But when you talk in terms of the South states, we're talking of one of the major oil block states. And I ask a question: why would the center be interested in the oil block states, if not for the fact that the oil block states have become states of national patronage, where even when the money is produced and 13% goes to the state, a minimum of 90% of the 13% goes to patronizing people outside the state, so much so that even the people in the state do not enjoy the 13% that goes to the state, and it leads to restiveness, and it becomes a vicious cycle. I think the time has come when we must start to revisit our political narratives, when we must start to look at the imperatives of our actions, when the people that have brain, like you and I, and so many millions of Nigerians must come to a table and say, enough is enough.
Exactly. Just for a moment, because there are a lot of issues on the table. A lot of people will argue otherwise on some of the situations in Rivers State. But let's move to another very interesting scenario. There have been talks of a mega party. How true is that? INEC says that it has been receiving applications for new political parties. Take a listen to the INEC chairman on this.
Addressed at the same time.
The Constitution and the laws of this country provide for registration of associations into political parties once they meet the requirements for registration. So if there are political associations that have met the requirements for registration, we will register them as political parties. And so far we have received over 60 applications for registration of new associations into political parties. So we'll continue to be governed and guided by the provisions of the Constitution and the Electoral Act.
Mega party, about over 60 political parties in the works right now. A mega party, is that the way out? We've seen a lot of storm in the major political parties and many other political parties with little activities. What do we do with that kind of situation, Mr. Etok?
Mega party is an insult on Nigerians. We must redefine our political narratives. Mega party is bandwagon effect. It is an insult on the intellect of people like you and I and so many millions of Nigerians. Does it mean that we must continue on this vicious cycle of lots of people coming together. They give us, I want to see the mega agenda of Nigerians, not mega party. I want to see the national agenda as propounded by parties. Nobody is talking that where are we going as a nation? What are the imperatives? What are the challenges that we have? How want to know, do parties rule countries? Today, look at every state. What you see is not the party, it is the individual.
Okay.
Look at the country.
Mr. Etok, for a moment,
Mr. President,
let's take a moment.
The body language of Mr. President.
I'd like to butt in just for a moment, please. When we return, the 2019 election fever is on, and interestingly, politicians are already getting set. Find out why after now. Join us again.